Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Welcome to another episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week my guest is Cameron Cassidy. Cameron, give us a little intro to yourself.
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me, Glenn. I'm excited for this. I'm a realtor in mostly Oshawa and Peterborough area. So I work, I would say 90% of my business is with investors, helping them get into investment properties, help with the analytics, help with finding contractors, help with getting, their place rented out or leased out. So, I've been doing this about 4 years now. I have a couple properties myself and,
Cool. So originally we got chatting on Facebook. We got on a side tangent because we were talking about some of your student rentals that you were helping investors buy, and I was kind of interested in that. And I've had several people on the show who actually do it, but we've never actually got into the topic of actually talking about it. But yeah. I know there's lots of people that are into the student rentals, so let's just dive into that. And mainly, I guess we'll focus on the Oshawa area because I know some student rental stuff will change from area to area, right?
Yeah, I mostly do student rentals in Peterborough.
Oh, Peterborough, sorry.
Yeah. I'm normally doing just the buy, fix, refi or the burst strategy in Oshawa. Believe it or not, student rentals in Oshawa are very tough. Just the purchase prices are too high around the area for what you can get. Where the buy, fix, refi strategy seems to work, a little bit better there. And then Peterborough, the purchase prices are just much cheaper with the same amount of rent per room that you can get. So that's kind of where I direct my investors. If they're, looking for cash flow plays, we'd go to more Peterborough. If they're looking for ROI plays, we do the burst strategy in Oshawa where it's been effective.
That makes a lot of sense. So for me, I'm over in Cambridge, so I experience a lot of the Waterloo buildings for all these rentals that are going in. And I know with the Waterloo rentals, there's licensing. Is there licensing in Oshawa and Peterborough?
Yeah, there is. But Oshawa's a little bit more strict. They kind of have their own licensing area where you actually can't do legal 2 units in that area. And they've done a ton of building of student rentals and are kind of trying to, take over that market. So there's not, unless you're buying condos like that, you can buy condos right now for, 160 and they're like bachelor condos, right? Designed for students in walking distance. But they're only renting for like $800-900. So I don't know. I don't find them that they make sense. Where Peterborough, you kind of have this, because there's Trent University and Fleming, so that you're surrounded by a university and a college, university in the north end, a college in the south end. And then right downtown is kind of the main student hub where there's these kind of old 2-story, 2.5-story houses where they have 6 bedrooms in them. You can get $525, $550 a room for each one of those. And the houses, you can get them as cheap as like $280, up to like $320. So they cash flow really well. But, from an appreciation standpoint, they're 100-plus-year-old houses. So it just depends on what you're looking for.
And you mentioned that one was like a 5-bedroom. Is there like a suite number if you're looking for to do student rentals? Like if should you just like rule it out if it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bedroom apartment, like a condo, like you were mentioning over in Oshawa, would that make a bad student rental? Or like, is it better to find one with like a lot of rooms so you can pack a lot of students in?
Yeah, generally the more rooms, the better. I've actually also worked with a couple investors where we've done kind of like a hybrid model, where they'll buy Peterborough actually just started to allow legal second suites.
Nice.
As of like 4 months ago. So been kind of jumping. There's been a lot of investors jumping on that. So bungalow prices have kind of come up. But my most recent purchase, that my investor paid a little bit more for a 60s bungalow that had 3 bedrooms up, 3 down, but 2 kitchens and 2 separate entrances. So he was looking for something that was a little bit more diverse, where he could find 3 students up or down, or he could rent to families kind of in the long run if he wasn't liking kind of the student rental approach and the turnover and the headaches that come with student rentals and things like that. So I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know if there is a standard model. Yeah, I mean, I guess people are in Oshawa buying these $160,000, $170,000 condos that are like, 300 or 400 square feet with no bedrooms in them. So yeah, I mean, I would direct someone if they're looking for a student rental into a 6-bedroom, even a 5-bedroom. The pricing isn't that much different, and you're getting an extra $500 a month. You're clearly going for a cash flow play. You clearly want something that, gives you a good amount of money. So, you can find the 2.5 stories where where you can get 6 beds comfortably in there, where it makes sense, then, I'd say go for it.
Yeah. And then, so we're looking for a lot of bedrooms, ideally. What else are we doing when we're evaluating these properties? Like, are we looking at this as if it's like a multifamily building where we're going to use like a cap rate?
Yeah, I mean, so like anything, I have a spreadsheet that I use to kind of, put in any sort of metrics that you want to evaluate the property. So, first off, you're looking at, the purchase price and what your mortgage is going to be. You're typically putting 20% down. Then you're looking at any updates or renovations. Like some of these houses, need a little bit of love. You're not generally putting a lot of money into a student rental though. It is kind of one of the benefits of the kitchen's dated. You're leaving it dated as long as it functions, as long as the fridge works. Everything's there. You want to make sure that, there's no structural issues or damages. From there, just what rent that could bring in, right? So in Peterborough, some people ask $500, $525 a room. And typically that's all inclusive. So you're paying for all the utilities. So you're definitely going to look into, what that monthly cost is going to be for your water, for your heat. For your hydro, factor in insurance, maintenance, all those different things. And from there, you're going to pull out your cap rate. You're going to pull out, what your cash flow is going to be, what your return on investment is going to be based off of, how much you have invested in that property. So, and that's it. To me, for a Peterborough student rental, it's a cash flow play. I find, if you're looking for ROIs, the burst strategy can give you a higher ROI, but maybe not that same cash flow because you're refinancing. So,
awesome.
I don't know if that answers your question or
not.
No,
I think it did. Yeah. So, for, trying to figure out some of these numbers for like, say, utilities, like, if I just wanted to base it on what my family uses as utilities, that'd probably be a little low. Like, if I was going to evaluate this, would I just double the utilities that I use in my own house? Or I guess you have some sort of numbers in your spreadsheet?
Yeah, a little bit here. I'll kind of pull up. Well, I guess you can't see it. I'll pull up so I can see it. But
if you send it to me afterwards, I can add it into the show. I can throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I don't find it to be that much more than I would say like a duplex. Like I'm also using renting the duplexes in Oshawa, and students are believe it or not, they're not using that much water. They're not showering as much. You know what I mean? It's not like
it's not out of.
It's not like a family of 5. Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing outrageous. It's still very standard utilities, monthly. Peterborough gets a little bit colder, but, depending on how old the furnace is, if it's high efficiency, which, you're likely going to have forced air in there too. So your gas bills aren't too crazy. Yeah, we haven't run into anything where, students are jacking up. The internet would be the biggest one if you do want to include internet, which I sometimes recommend because tenants and students love that. You just get an unlimited package of about $100 a month.
Yeah.
And they can just have at it, and you're going to get some good, quality tenants that will stay in their room and spend their time on the internet. So, but yeah, as far as cap rates, like anywhere 8 to 10% you can see with a student rental. So you're looking at pretty good numbers, but some of the stresses of having to find a tenant each year, finding new sets of tenants, right? You're finding 5 or 6 different tenants. But the good thing about it, what a lot of investors like too, is you're also adding their parents as a guarantor. So as far as not getting rent or not having rent being paid, it's not usually an issue. Usually the students are backed by their parents, and you put them on the lease as well.
Yep.
So you're kind of pretty guaranteed, and
should get paid.
I usually tell my clients to add incentives in for the tenants to find new tenants for next year.
Okay.
So hey, if you find us a new tenant, we'll give you $1,000 or something, or students think that's like
Oh yeah.
even that's aggressive. They'll go out and find you wicked tenants for you and stuff. So, little tricks like that.
Cool. And then so do these tenants, are they doing like 8-month leases or 12-month leases? Do they?
12 months. Yep. They're in Peterborough. It was a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that they kind of were rigid. They were doing 8 months, and a lot of investors that come to me, looking in Peterborough are, usually that's their first question. They go, "I heard it was 8 months." Like, no, they're good with 12-month now. They usually start, and this is kind of, the tricky part. Like right now, buying a student rental is tough if it's vacant, because a lot of the students have already found their accommodations.
Right.
Students start finding their accommodations for September and January. So,
that early.
yeah, like they want to get stuff locked in. Typically the leases won't start till May 1st. This is the time, but so buying right now is tough if you're getting a vacant unit. I know last September I had a couple properties that came on that were pretty good, where they're fully tenanted, at a good price. And that, I don't know, the landlord just, got it all set up for you and then put it up for sale. So it was kind of a smooth transaction for that investor for the first year.
You mentioned May 1st, which is interesting. So a lot of the leases start on May 1st. So you do the summer, where people usually flake off at the start.
Yep.
And instead of that September, and then hoping that they keep paying through the summer when they're not necessarily there. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just kind of the way.
I know. That's a great strategy. It's better to have the hard part at the front.
No, and that's it, right? I mean, they're all excited. So at first they're not thinking about it, where at the end of the year, they're probably
and they're
looking to get out.
I can go move in a month early.
Yeah. If you made it in September and then the last 4 months were when you're gone, I'm sure you'd see a lot of bounce checks and a lot of.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even realize that. That's a great strategy. For distance, how close do you have to be to the college or the university? How far away can you get, like, distance-wise?
Yeah, so the university and the college, Trent and Fleming, both offer free bus passes, and the bus system in Peterborough is pretty good. They have express routes for both Trent and Fleming. Trent is kind of at the north part of the city, and Fleming's at the south part.
Okay.
So they couldn't be more opposite ends. So, but there's a district right downtown where the main bus terminal is, and there's kind of all the older 2.5-story houses. That's typically where you're finding the 260 to 350 houses, that are prime for student rentals. So, vice versa. There is, so you're either downtown on the bus routes, or you're close to Trent or Fleming, but then you're limiting yourself to only Trent students or only Fleming students. So, I would say that the main student area is right downtown. And it's a pretty small area, and that's what's unique about Peterborough. And I know Oshawa, Waterloo, like, they're building tons of condos and tons of, like the universities are rapidly growing, where it's not happening. There's no new build. They're not adding, but they're adding students.
Yeah.
So I mean, the demand for student rentals is that a lot of them are complaining, and a lot of them are upset. The students I'm talking about, because they're having to live in accommodations that aren't necessarily the best, right? Because some of these houses are starting to get run down, and most landlords aren't really that motivated to dump a ton of money into them, right? So
not necessarily for a student rental if it's going to get damaged. Yeah.
And that's it, right? I mean, the students don't, they of course they want a, nice unit, but they don't want to pay for it. But yeah.
So you'd say that the demand is growing. It's not like, because I always wonder when I look at Waterloo, there's so many buildings getting built, and they tear down like 3 houses, and then they put in like 500 units because they built this skyscraper. I'm like, really? Can this place really support this many students?
Yep. And Oshawa's doing the same thing. And then I agree, like, that's kind of why I'm staying away from Oshawa student rental. Not that it can't work. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I know UOIT and Durham College are both, they're expanding like crazy. They're bringing in lots of programs. So, it's definitely, Oshawa's moving away from GM to kind of trying to be a university town now, like the Waterloos and the Kingstons and the Londons and things like that. So, but Peterborough's weird that way, where, the students are steady. They have, 6,000 students. They have international students. They have students coming in for their programs at a steady rate.
Yeah.
But you don't see that same construction. You don't see the same building like you do in these other cities. So it's strange.
Lots of opportunities still then. Cool.
Yeah.
What else? That was my list. What else do I need to know about student rentals?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends if you're willing to, if you want to jump into them. I think they're a great cash flowing option, right? For people that, if someone's just starting off and their goal is to quit their job, if their goal is, they need cash flow in their investment, student rentals can be a good option. Screening tenants is a little bit trickier process just because you have 6 of them, 5 of them that you're doing credit checks on, you're getting their parents' information. But once it's going, it can definitely be a smooth operation. You're
sorry to cut you off there. Is that so
yeah.
for the credit union or credit checks? Are you just doing it on the parents, or do these students even have really credit?
They don't.
report?
They don't have anything, right? So that's what you just say to them, hey, your parents are going to be guarantors, and we're going to check their credit.
Okay.
And honestly, we want to talk to the parents, right? Like the more due diligence you can do with them, just to make sure that the parents understand that, hey, your student's going to be paying $500. And a lot of them, are coming from Toronto or Mississauga or areas with money, and they're like, yeah, no problem. Do you want it the check in full? Do you want, here's post-dated checks? How do you want us to pay, kind of thing, right? So, most of them aren't concerned with that. They're prepared. They're taking out student loans. They got OSAP. They got something like that. And I mean, it's good to have a handyman. It's good to have someone there. Like, I know you were talking about with your team, it's nice to have a team in place there. If you're not living directly in Peterborough, if things come up, students are not well versed in home ownership.
Nope.
So, little things like clogged toilets and sinks and, doing that, you have to keep on them with that. But, I think it's a good investment option. It's just a matter of, how you want to go about it.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, Cameron. If people wanted to get a hold of you, where would they find you?
I'm on social media, Facebook, Cameron Cassidy Real Estate, Cam Cassidy, just on Instagram. Find me on there. My email is camcassidy1@gmail.com. Email me with any questions or concerns or feedback, anything like that. I'm always up for talking real estate.
No, awesome. Me too. All right. Thanks so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, man.